Hello, my name is John Clayton. I'm the Executive Director of the Manchester Historic Association and Millyard Museum, and I'm happy to welcome you to our 28th Annual Historic Preservation Awards. In fact, we're making history tonight because this is the first time this event has been brought to you on a virtual platform. I'm joined here by my very good friend Matt Kafoury, who's a longtime supporter of the MHA, and more importantly for our purposes here today, he's the honorary chair of this event. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks, John. I'm so proud and honored to be here tonight for the MHA. The Preservation Awards represent the single largest event fundraiser for the organization during the course of the year. Given these extraordinary circumstances of the past 6 months, we need your support now more than ever. We ask that during the course of the event, you make a pledge to support the MHA. We have many great award recipients tonight, and if you want, you can donate in their name. We have also taken advantage of our large media library by sharing our walking tours, our educational events, and our lectures virtually to keep the MHA more relevant. We've received an enormous outpouring of support, but as I said earlier, we need your support now more than ever. Please take a moment during the broadcast or after to make a donation and demonstrate your support for the Manchester Historic Association and the Millyard Museum.
Incidentally, Matt and I are coming to you from our research center at 129 Amherst Street, which is reopened again on Wednesdays and Saturdays for researchers and scholars. And speaking of scholars, as you can imagine, we had to overcome some amazing obstacles to continue our mission to collect, preserve, and share Manchester history, and to fulfill our educational mission as well. Toward that end, by way of social media, our museum educator, Christy Ellsworth, created a series of Manchester-based History at Home projects designed for 4th grade learning. However, we've been delighted to find out that they will be enjoyed not just by kids, but by adults alike. Matt, as honorary chair, could I ask you to introduce our Master of Ceremonies?
Sure, thanks, John. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce longtime radio personality and past Manchester Historic Association Director, Mr. Ed Bruder.
Each year, we acknowledge organizations and businesses that have reached the 100-year mark. In 2020, the Manchester YWCA achieves that milestone. Its goal continues to be helping women and girls find meaning in their own lives, to develop to their full capacity for leadership, and to play an effective and constructive part in community life. Congratulations to the Manchester YWCA. The building at 23 Amherst Street has been a part of downtown Manchester since the early 1900s. An elegant bar known as the Bell in Hand Pub occupied the premises from 1910 to 1920. After the building was torn down, a new structure was built in 1920 to accommodate a large printing press for a French-Canadian newspaper. Later, it was converted into the Rex Theatre, which opened on May 30th, 1940, as a 550-seat movie theater that was both fireproof and air-conditioned. The first pictures shown were His Girl Friday and The Amazing Mr. Williams, although many stars of the silver screen were featured there over the years. In 1962, the Rex was renamed the King Cinema until it became known as The Movies. It closed altogether in the 1980s. Over the years, it housed a succession of nightclubs, including Spider's Web, Club Liquid, and finally Club Realm. The crowds were rough, and each subsequent management change left the building in worse shape. Finally, in 2014, the building was vacated after a fire. It was purchased by the Manchester Development Corporation in 2016. Several proposals were considered to revive the decrepit, vandalized, abandoned structure. When they were unsuccessful, the president and CEO of the Palace Theatre entered into an agreement with the MDC. The Palace operates the Rex as a theatrical performance venue, music hall, and multi-use community center. The concept of reviving the Rex is centered on the value of community and public-private partnerships, economic development, and urban renewal preservation. Renovations began on a cold January day in late 2019. Mayor Joyce Craig gathered with MDC and Palace officials. Since they weren't doing a groundbreaking, Her Honor had a chance to swing a sledgehammer to demolish a wall. Extensive renovations to the 10,000 square foot structure began, inside and out. A tired, vacant building was restored into a state-of-the-art performance center that will provide a new genre of entertainment in downtown Manchester. In September 2019, a truck pulled up with the building's new sign, crews installed the new signage as plans progressed for the 300-seat theater's rededication. That ceremony took place last October 29th, with promises to present a diverse selection of entertainment comprised of local, national, and international talent. Through a combination of live performances and community events, the refurbished Rex Theater now gleams as a jewel in the Queen City's crown, enhancing the quality of life in southern New Hampshire. The Manchester Historic Association is proud to present the Development of a Cultural Resources Award to the Rex Theater.
It was 80 years ago in the city of Manchester, on May 30th, 1940 to be exact, that the Rex Theater made its debut, showcasing two films, His Girl Friday and The Amazing Mr. Williams. Fast forward to 2020, the Rex Theater was revived with the help of Mayor Joyce Craig. Joyce saw that this was going to turn into a parking lot. She did not want that to happen, and she said, we're not going to pave paradise and put up a parking lot. So she conferred with Peter Ramsey, the CEO of Palace Theater Trust. The two of them put their heads together, and voila, the Rex Theater is back in business. The Rex Theater would not be in business today without the financial assistance of Bellwether Community Credit Union, the chief sponsor of the Rex Theater. In addition to that, many other companies helped us out. Roland Martin of Cornerstone Construction was the man who was responsible for building the theater. And in addition to building it, he gave much financial assistance, which made it possible. In addition to that, Eversource, McLean Middleton, Longchamps Electric, CDFA, First Sign, Frank Webb Home, and even iHeartMedia were all very responsible in the financial backing of the Rex Theater. It wouldn't have been possible without these great corporations to help us out. While this was being built, Peter Ramsey had a small injury, so Paul Ramsey oversaw the whole operation. With Paul and Roland Martin working together, the Rex Theater has turned into this 300-seat capacity theater that is now the envy of downtown Manchester. We look forward to many, many great shows, music, comedy, theater, entertainment in the city of Manchester at 23 Amherst Street at the Rex Theater for many years to come. Thank you.
Just off South Beach Street sits the Manchester Hebrew Cemetery. Built in 1918, it was originally two abutting cemeteries, Adath Yeshurun and Anshe Sephard, separated by a fence. In 1946, the two were combined, and the next year, a chapel was built right on the line where the fence had stood. It was constructed as a memorial to 5 Jewish men from Manchester who paid the supreme sacrifice in World War II. Max Slovak, Robert Eisenberg, Zalman Rosenberg, Jack Perlman, and Dr. Benjamin Bronstein. For decades then, this sacred ground has been the final resting place for Queen City residents of Jewish descent. Today, the Manchester Hebrew Cemetery is jointly owned and maintained by Temple Israel and Temple Adath Yeshurun, and is open to the entire New Hampshire community. By 2017, the chapel and cemetery as a whole were in need of a facelift. A joint committee from the two temples began laying plans for new paving, lighting, and lawn sprinklers, decorative landscaping, and major improvements to the chapel. Competitive bids were sought to repair and replace the roof, 2 restrooms, sheetrock installation, and exterior windows. Additionally, the heating system was serviced, and the walls and ceiling were painted. An acoustic ceiling with new lights and a sound system was installed. Restoring the grounds and infrastructure was a major undertaking. This portion of the project included a new sprinkler system, new electrical and internet connectivity, a security lighting system, a video surveillance system, and a security system for the chapel. Every road in the cemetery was dug up, regraded, and repaved. All of the headstones were pressure washed to remove lichens, dirt, and grime, making the markers much easier to read. Trees were pruned and brush was cut back to open the full expanse of the property. The entrance driveway was reconfigured, making the chapel handicap accessible, and gravel was installed before all the paths were repaved. In all, the 3-year project cost more than $350,000. Today, the grounds make a pleasant place to spend eternity. The Manchester Historic Association is pleased to present this Restoration of an Historic Site Award to the Manchester Hebrew Cemetery.
I would like to thank the Manchester Historic Association for bestowing upon the Manchester Jewish Cemetery a Historic Preservation Award. I have to acknowledge and thank the members of the Restoration Committee for their efforts and assistance in raising the funds necessary to rebuild the chapel and infrastructure of the cemetery over the past 3 years. The members of our committee are Rabbi Beth Davidson, Sue Niederman, Michael Litvin, Larry Ekman, and myself, Michael Sidney. I want to thank the New Hampshire Jewish Federation and all of the generous contributors who helped support and bring this project to fruition. I am proud to say that we raised $350,000 to rebuild and restore the chapel and all of the infrastructure in the cemetery. One of the first solicitations I made for the project was to meet with Ed Broad, a prominent member of the Jewish and secular Manchester community. After explaining the scope of the project, Ed and his wife Muriel contributed a very generous lead gift. Ed told me that one day he and Muriel will both be buried in the cemetery, and he wanted to make sure that the place looked good. I believe their wishes have been surpassed, and they are both now interred at the cemetery. The scope of the project entailed a new roof, refurbishing 2 restrooms, new insulated windows, an acoustical ceiling with new lighting, a sound and security system, and making the chapel handicap accessible. In the cemetery grounds, we pressure washed every headstone, installed a new sprinkler system, security lighting, video surveillance, and repaved all of the roadways. In closing, I would like to thank the Manchester Historic Association for recognizing our achievement in rebuilding and restoring a historic Jewish landmark in the city of Manchester.
Many homeowners have learned that renovation projects don't happen quickly. A residential makeover can take years to complete, as is the case with this single-family residence at 116 Everett Street in Manchester's North End. It is believed the home was built around 1890 by Dr. John D. Ferguson. This plaque was added by the recipients of this award. The home is a modified Victorian design, most likely a Queen Anne style, and up until 2013 was in severe decline after years of neglect. For several years, it was occupied as a rental by a commune of believers in the Free State concept, who did little to maintain the property. In the late fall of 2013, Sharon and Scott Cairns purchased the property in conjunction with Gem Property Group, which managed the complete top-down renovation of the house and restored it to its original grandeur as a turn of the 19th century centerpiece of the neighborhood. All of the drafty windows, with the exception of the irreplaceable original curved glass windows in the turret, were replaced with energy-saving modern replacements. The original wood flooring was restored. The kitchen and dining room were opened up from a claustrophobic and closed-off warren of rooms and turned into a grand entertaining space. The front and rear doors were replaced with custom oak doors built by juried craftsman and woodworker Greg Brown. The front door includes 2 custom stained glass panels entitled Flower of Scotland, created by master artist Luis Polzetti. In 2019, a new outdoor kitchen was added to the back patio area. The 3rd floor attic was turned into its own suite of living space, complete with full bath, and an office was created in the circular room at the top of the turret overlooking the neighborhood. A new master bathroom was created out of the 2nd floor turret space, and a small 4th bedroom on the 2nd floor was converted into a walk-in dressing room with built-in period wardrobes and cabinetry. The roof was replaced, and a wooden rear deck off the back entrance door was also removed. 2 of the columns on the front porch were removed to open up the porch. The plumbing was upgraded, and all of the electrical was replaced, as was the heating system, keeping only the original steam radiators, which still functioned properly. In 2014, the entire house was insulated from top to bottom and financed in part by a grant from Liberty Utilities. While the original living room fireplace mantel was kept, a new gas-burning fireplace insert, consistent with the look of the home, was installed. A second gas-burning fireplace was installed in what the homeowners call the tavern room. Outside, the landscaping was a disaster. What few shrubs and trees remained were overgrown and in poor shape. The lawn consisted mostly of crabgrass and weeds. It was replaced with new sod, an irrigation system, new landscape beds edged with granite blocks, and a centerpiece flower bed with weeping cherry tree. White picket fencing was installed on the corner of the property fronting a new rose garden. Finally, granite lampposts consistent with the house were installed on the corner of the property and the front walk. A new cobblestone driveway was installed on the Everett Street side. At the end of the new driveway, A new patio with a pergola was installed using the original carriage house door as a focal point. LED landscape lighting, dimmable and able to change colors, was added to light the driveway, the patio, and the flower gardens. In 2018, the porch deck was replaced with Trex engineered lumber. The old wooden rails and balusters on the front porch, which were cracked and sagging, were redone using Haas architectural millworks and polyurethane engineered exact replicas entirely indistinguishable from the original wood ones. After more than 5 years of restoring the house and the landscape, the home has become a focal point of the neighborhood, often hosting dinner parties, patio barbecues, and front porch cocktails in the summer. The MHA presents this Home Renovation Award to Sharon and Scott Cairns for their home at 116 Everett Street.
Hello, everyone. I'm Scott Cairns. Unfortunately, my wife Sharon could not be here tonight due to extenuating circumstances. But on behalf of Sharon and I, we are honored to receive the 2020 Home Renovation Award. From a Free Staters commune rental home to being abandoned and uncared for 3 years, the home you see now at 116 Everett Street is nothing like it appears on Google Street Maps still. So if anyone knows anyone in that division at Google, please reach out to them so they can do another drive-by with their camera car, please. Now, it might be a cliche to say that our efforts over the last 6 years were a labor of love, but sometimes a cliche actually has value and truth. But it wasn't just the love that Sharon and I put into the house and the landscape, it was also the love and friendship that was extended to us as strangers moving into a very close-knit neighborhood of residents who had deep roots extending back decades. That welcome certainly served as a catalyst that we used to help make the home into what it is today. So we thank our neighbors and now our good friends for welcoming us and making us part of a sense of community that is increasingly difficult to find. Well, Sharon's a native of New Hampshire. I've lived in 5 different states from New York to Connecticut to Georgia and Maryland before moving to New Hampshire. So I can say with a lot of experience that the sense of community is what makes the North End neighborhood and the city of Manchester itself unique in this day and age. I'll close with this. We're quite sure that the original Ferguson clan, who built the house over 120 years ago, is delighted that a grandson of Ulster Scot immigrants, just like the Fergusons were in the 19th century when they came to the city, has now restored the home to its original grandeur when they built it. When we first walked into the house December 31st, 2013, we somehow knew that we were meant to be there. Indeed, the Ferguson clan crest and their motto now serves as our address marker on the front of the house, and the tartans of Scotland once again shine a rainbow of colors on the street, and the music of bagpipes echoes through the neighborhood. I think the Fergusons would be quite pleased. So thank you, John, and thank you to the Historic Association again for this award.
The first meeting house on the west side was built in 1820, near the intersection of South Main and Milford Streets. In 1883, it became the South Main Street Union Congregational Church, but fire destroyed the building in November 1916. The following year, construction began on the red brick building we know today. In 2011, the South Main Street congregation merged with Grace Haven Baptist Church as Faithbridge Church. The building has benefited from ongoing work over the years. In 2014, the 4 clock faces were restored by a skilled volunteer from the congregation. Each clock face was pulled, scraped, and any damaged or missing numerals replaced and then repainted. The original tin roof on the steeple was also replaced by master roofers. In 2015, the landscaping in front of the building was returned to grass, in line with the original design concept of 1917. Before the project, the entire yard was covered in juniper and overgrown shrubs. Several interior spaces have been updated with ongoing work. One of the larger spaces, of 1,100 square feet, had asbestos tile abatement, aging steam heat replaced with hydronic baseboard, drop ceiling with new lighting installed, and fresh paint and flooring. The most recent renovation involved repairs to the 4 column bases on the portico. First, the overhang had to be shored up. 1 column at a time, the original concrete and rotting wood was chipped away. New wood bases were fabricated and tied to the porch with a steel bracket system. New concrete bases were poured and trimmed out. Along with restoring the bases, the columns were repainted, and the threshold on the front door was replaced and the doors were repainted. To complete the project, the facade was repainted and the front windows replaced. Most recently, the original tower clock was repaired by Devanza Clock Repair, machining a new gear to replace the failed one on the strike mechanism. Faithbridge Church has certainly earned this stewardship award.
Well, thank you for the privilege and honor to represent the the folks at Faith Bridge Church, as we have been serving there on the corner of Milford and South Main to some degree or another for 200 years. Our building God has entrusted to us is 102 years old, and we've had an opportunity these last few years to make some significant investments into preserving its upkeep. We do see it as a tool for ministry to help us fulfill our calling of loving Jesus, loving others, and serving both. And we want to do that in a way that blesses the community. And part of that is keeping up the exterior of the building. That is a blessing to the city as people drive by, but also realizing a solid building helps lead to solid cities, and a solid faith helps lead to solid families and communities. And so we strive to excel in both of those areas at FaithBridge, of having solid facilities, but more importantly, a solid faith to help strengthen our city. And so we thank you for this opportunity to partner with the Manchester Historic Association as we both seek to be a blessing to our city, to see it shine and thrive into the future.
Manchester has the unique distinction of being the only city in the world to have a museum that owns two homes designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. He was born in 1867 and died in 1959. Wright was world-renowned as an architect, interior designer, writer, and educator. He designed more than 1,000 buildings and is credited with the concept of the Usonian house, a simple, stylish house of moderate cost designed especially for the American middle class. His first connection to Manchester began in 1949 when he designed a home for Isidore and Lucille Zimmerman on Heather Street, just off Union Street. But it wasn't just the home. Wright laid out precise details of the gardens, the furniture, even the mailbox. Dr. Zimmerman had been recruited to work at the old Sacred Heart Hospital in the 1930s by his friend, Dr. Tufik Khalil, a radiologist. Neither couple had children, and in 1954, Tufik and his wife Mildred asked Wright to design a home for them. The Khalils bought a small lot on Heather Street, just 4 doors from the Zimmermans. This area had once been known as Pinecrest, a series of vacation cottages away from the heat and smells of the mill yard, surrounded by a large grove of pine trees with an unimpeded view of the Uncanunics. In fact, an old man lived in a cabin like this one, and when the Khalils made an offer, he was quick to accept and move out. By this time, Wright was 87 years old, in great demand, with many projects on the table. After drawing the designs, he turned the project over to an assistant, Morton Delson. The idea behind the Usonian automatic style was that the houses had no attics or basements and were constructed of inexpensive concrete blocks, which the owners could theoretically make themselves. 1 story in height, they were built on a radiant heated concrete slab. Even the windows were made of concrete and fitted with glass or metal sashes. Construction began in the fall of 1955. 2 local craftsmen were hired to crank out up to 70 concrete blocks per day, each weighing 225 pounds. The house was paneled with Philippine mahogany. Much of the furniture was built in, including bookshelves. A sunken tub shower was even outfitted with specially treated mahogany walls. The living room had a central fireplace and abundant light from a virtual wall of windows. The concrete floor was painted a Cherokee red color. Many original features are still intact, like stiff but comfortable chair cushions, a countertop charcoal grill and fan, and a detached annex originally conceived as an in-law apartment. Fast forward to 1990. Tufik and Mildred Khalil had both passed, and Tufik's brother John inherited the house. He was a good steward of the property for 15 years until his death in February 2018 at the age of 101. The property passed to Tufik and John's nephew, Stephen Khalil. Back in 1988, the Zimmermans had left their property to the Currier Museum of Art. 2 years later, it was opened for public tours, the only Wright home accessible in New England. The Currier had long been interested in the Khalil house. More than 150 potential buyers expressed an interest in purchasing it. An anonymous donor stepped forward with an endowment that allowed the Currier to buy it for $970,000 in November 2019. The city and state are grateful to the Khalil family for working with the Currier to transfer ownership of this special home. When COVID-19 issues are resolved, it will be open to the public for tours. The Manchester Historic Association is proud to present this Conservation of a Cultural Resource Award.
Thank you to the Manchester Historic Association for this honor. Our family always knew that the house was special, and we each had our own memory of it throughout the years. Our priority was to respect its architectural integrity, to honor a family legacy, and to preserve an important part of Manchester's cultural heritage. Overseeing the restoration gave us a new appreciation for the house's material components and the beauty and interplay of light and shadows over the changing seasons. We engaged with the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, consultant Elizabeth Wiley, and Wis Janey Eltzner, an architectural engineering firm out of Boston, well known for their work on historic sites around the country. We are pleased that now, under the stewardship of the Currier Museum of Art, that this architectural gem will be available for people to enjoy forever. Thank you.
Our final recipient is perhaps one of the most recognizable figures in the Queen City. He was born in New Britain, Connecticut. The legend in his high school yearbook, class of 1946, said, quote, "Ray's chief interest in school is getting out. He likes all sports, with hunting and fishing heading the list of favorites. When fishing, he never catches anything, but goes just for the sports of it. Ray hopes to play professional baseball in the future." Before and after his service in the U.S. Army's 40th Infantry Division during the Korean War, he worked as a salesman for Stanley Works, an internationally known tool company. He has called New Hampshire home since 1958. Long before his entry into political life, Ray was active in civic affairs. He served as director and president of the Manchester Scholarship Foundation from 1973 to 1976. From 1984 to 89, he was a commissioner of the Manchester Housing and Redevelopment Authority and the chairman in 1986. In 2001, he was awarded an honorary Doctor of Law degree from New Hampshire College. He is probably best known for 5 terms as mayor of Manchester, beginning in 1990, a time when the city was experiencing a serious economic downturn. During his tenure, Ray oversaw the renovation of City Hall and its subsequent inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places. Other accomplishments include the adoption of a city charter in 1996, his advocacy for construction of a civic center in 1999, and a business development program in conjunction with the Manchester Economic Development Office. In 2002, NeighborWorks America recognized Ray with a Public Service Award for the vital role he played in bringing change to the Center City neighborhood. Ray traded in his seat at City Hall for one at the State House, serving as District 4 representative on the New Hampshire Executive Council from 2002 to 2012. Ray's efforts to transform an out-of-date, second-rate airport into the first-class Manchester-Boston Regional Airport we know today were recognized when the city named the new airport access road Raymond Wazorek Drive in 2011. He was named Citizen of the Year by the Manchester Chamber of Commerce in 1999 and received Elliott Hospital's William S. Green Award of Excellence. He has been actively involved in many other clubs and organizations, including the Boys and Girls Club, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and was a former president of the United Way. In 2015, the MHA recognized Wazorek Insurance Agency with a Private Development Award for their office building at 166 Concord Street. Ray has walked the walk and talked the talk by committing to stay in downtown since first purchasing that building in 1979. They embarked on an ambitious renovation project that included restoration of fireplaces and wood paneling, both originals, removal of layers of paint, restoring woodwork inside and out, and repointing the now 176-year-old brick exterior. He will observe his 92nd birthday this December. For his lengthy record of service and devotion to his adopted city, the Manchester Historic Association takes great pleasure in presenting a Leadership and Advocacy Award to former Mayor and Executive Councilor Raymond John Wazorek.
I want to express my thanks to the Manchester Historic Association for the recognition award of progress made in the Manchester Midyard. The one thing I really want to say is that when you get anything done, you don't ever get it done by yourself. If you have a project that's worthwhile, there are always good people that are going to come along and want to assist you in the project. Kevin Clardy, who was the finance officer for the city of Manchester, was my superstar. He was among other people in the city of Manchester that played a very important role in things that we got done here in the Midyard, where what we are accomplishing or trying to accomplish was to increase the density in the Midyard. And we did that by making a transfer with the university of French Hall, their 800 acres, and the city of Manchester for a building to increase the density here and move the university system into the mill yard. And that was our goal. We accomplished that goal. And that was the beginning of a lot of things that happened here in the mill yard. It's been a tremendous project, but as I say, to me, it is very much like baking a cake. It isn't equal amounts of ingredients to bake the cake. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and eventually when you put it all together, you have the cake. And that's the same thing with good ideas, that you have. And I want to express my thanks to everybody who's been a part of anything that has been done here in the mill yard, because there's some very important projects that have been completed right here. This building that we're in right now is a building that was purchased for Dean Kamen and the C organization. The Historic Association is here also, and that was a deal that was consummated by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. There was Judy Thayer and Alderman Tim Reiniger. They helped make this a historic district. And that's what is happening now. It is a historic district, because prior to that, this was zoned industrial, and that was that way done by the feds, and it had to stay that way. So they got it changed, and this led to a lot of development that has taken place in the mill yard. So all of this credit belongs not just to me, I happen to be the front man, but it belongs to a lot of people along the way who have made their contribution. As I said, it's how you bake the cake. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then you have a cake. So again, I want to express my thanks to everybody for the recognition, but I wanted to recognize a lot of the people that also played an important role in what we accomplished.
Hello, I'm Colleen Kurlansky, President of the Manchester Historic Association. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I thank you for helping us to accomplish our mission to collect, preserve, and share the history of the City of Manchester by watching our 28th Annual Historic Preservation Awards. And congratulations to all of the award recipients. For more information or to donate, please call 603-622-7531 or visit manchesterhistoric.org. Thank you.